You know how to read a chart. You understand price action. You've studied the setups, the risk-reward, the technicals. But here you are, still cutting winners too soon, still holding losers too long, still second-guessing every click. It's not that you don't know what to do. It's that something inside you keeps getting in the way. That something? It's emotion. Not just any emotion, but 5 specific emotional states that silently sabotage your trades. They show up uninvited, whispering just loud enough to sway your judgment. And before you know it, they've hijacked your entire session. Fear, greed, impatience, revenge, self-doubt. You felt them. We all have. These aren't signs that you're weak. They're signs that you're human. But if you let them lead, your edge will disappear. And the worst part? You'll blame your system. You'll switch strategies. You'll think the market is broken, when in reality, it's not your strategy that needs work. It's your emotional control. This is the silent battle most traders never win. And it's the real reason 90% never make it long term. Because charts don't kill winning trades. You do. More specifically, the version of you that's trading while angry, afraid, overconfident, or desperate. But what if you could change that? What if you could spot the emotional shift before it takes over? What if you could trade from clarity, not chaos? What if you could still feel the emotion, but not obey it? That's what this guide is all about. What you'll learn in this script. This isn't surface-level advice like control your emotions or stay disciplined. You've heard that already, and it doesn't help. Instead, we're going deep. Real talk, real triggers, real patterns. We'll walk through each of the 5 emotional states that kill winning trades and show you how to recognize when each state begins to take hold, why they appear even when you're doing everything right, what practical actions you can take to diffuse them in real time. Most importantly, you'll discover that you're not alone. Every professional trader has faced these exact same emotional battles. The difference is they've learned how to manage them. And now, you will too. Why this matters more than you think. The market is not your enemy. It doesn't care if you win or lose. Your real opponent is you on a bad day. You when you're chasing. You when you're panicking. You when you're trying to force something that isn't there. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about emotional mastery, not to eliminate your feelings, but to trade with them instead of against them. Because once you gain emotional clarity, your edge becomes real. Your rules finally stick. Your progress compounds. And the trader you're trying to become, they start showing up more and more, until one day, they are you. Let's begin. Let's expose the 5 emotional states that have been holding you back and show you finally how to take your power back. Welcome to the real work. Let's do this. Chapter 1. The Silent Killers in the Mind of a Trader. You sit at your desk, eyes locked on the chart, hands slightly clammy on the mouse. There's a subtle tension in the room. No sound, just the low hum of your monitor. You've done your analysis. The setup is perfect. You've seen this pattern 100 times, but still, there's something gnawing at you, something you can't quite name. That something is emotion. And if you don't learn how to recognize and control it, it will dismantle your progress, one trade at a time. The truth is, most traders don't lose because they're unintelligent or lack strategy. No, they lose because they haven't trained their emotional responses. And the worst part? These emotional states are subtle, quiet. They sneak in when you're focused on charts, indicators, and execution. And then, just like that, they hijack your decision-making. You may not realize it, but every trade you take is a test, not just of your strategy, but of your mind. Let's be real. You've probably been there. You were up 3R, then watched it drop to break even because you hesitated. You revenge traded after a loss and wiped out a week of progress. You scaled out too early because you didn't want to be greedy. Or worse, you ignored your stop loss because you just knew it would turn. These aren't technical errors. These are emotional errors, and they're killing your winning trades. In this journey, we're going to identify 5 emotional states that sabotage traders time and again. You're going to see them clearly, maybe for the first time, and more importantly, you'll learn how to take back control. But before we dive into them, you have to understand something foundational. You are not your emotions. That may sound strange, but you need to hear it again. You are not your emotions. You feel fear, you feel greed, you feel frustration, but those feelings are not who you are. They're passing clouds. And once you learn to see them, not react to them, you'll unlock a level of trading discipline most never reach. That's your real edge. Not the indicator you bought, not the secret strategy you found in some forum. Your edge is emotional mastery. But right now, you've probably fallen into the same trap most traders do. You've internalized your outcomes. You let a red trade ruin your day. You let a green trade make you feel like a genius. That emotional roller coaster, it's killing your consistency. So let's name the enemy. Here are the 5 emotional states that quietly destroy good traders and good trades. Fear, the hesitation that keeps you from pulling the trigger, or the panic that makes you cut your winners short. Greed, the urge that pushes you to overtrade or chase just one more candle, and usually ends in regret. Revenge, the fury that takes over after a loss and convinces you to win it back right now, no matter the cost. Impatience, the restless energy that forces trades when the market isn't offering anything worth taking. Self-doubt, the internal voice that whispers, "You can't do this," even when your system is sound. You've likely met all 5 before, maybe just this week. And if you don't have tools to deal with them, they'll keep showing up. But here's the powerful shift that's coming. By the end of this journey, you'll be able to recognize these emotional states the moment they arise. You'll build habits that diffuse their power, and you'll reclaim the calm, centered mindset that consistently winning traders operate from. Because the truth is, when your emotional state aligns with discipline, your technical edge finally gets the room to work. Let's not sugarcoat it. Mastering these 5 emotions will take effort. It won't be overnight, but every breakthrough you make here will show up in your equity curve. Every moment you learn to pause before reacting will save you from a future blown account. Every internal victory you win becomes external consistency. So take a deep breath. You're here. You've committed to growth. This isn't a quick fix script. This is a transformation. And now we begin with the most common, most paralyzing emotion of all, fear. Chapter 2. Fear, the hesitation that costs you profits. You feel it in your chest, that tight, almost invisible pressure just before you're about to click buy. You've seen this setup before. You've studied it, back-tested it, marked it in your journal. And yet your finger hovers above the mouse like it weighs 1,000 pounds. Fear. It's not loud. It doesn't scream. It whispers. What if this one fails? What if you're wrong again? What if this is the start of another losing streak? You hesitate, and the trade runs without you. You enter late, and now your risk to reward is skewed. You exit early, and miss the full move. Fear costs more than losing trades. It costs winning trades. It disguises itself as caution. It tells you it's protecting you. But what it's really doing is stealing your edge. And here's the worst part. You probably think the fear is about the market. It's not. It's about you. It's about your identity. Because every trade feels personal. When a trade wins, you feel smart, capable, like you've figured it out. When it loses, you feel inadequate, ashamed, like a fraud. So fear shows up not to protect your account, but to protect your ego. Let's say that again. Fear in trading is almost never about the trade. It's about your self-worth. You're scared to lose because you've tied your value to the outcome. And that's the trap. That's the cage. So how do you break free? 1. Detach from outcome-based identity. You need to rewire your definition of a good trade. A good trade is one you executed according to plan with discipline and emotional control. If you followed your rules and the trade lost, that's still a win because you're practicing consistency. And consistency is the only path to long-term profit. Start affirming it to yourself. My identity is not tied to this trade. My success is built through execution, not outcome. You're not a trader because of one trade. You're a trader because of your process. 2. Predefine risk, then accept it emotionally. You always set a stop loss, but that's not the issue. The issue is you haven't emotionally accepted the loss before entering. You enter a trade hoping it won't hit your stop. That's wrong. You need to enter a trade expecting that it could and being completely okay with that. Here's a mental exercise. Before every trade, ask yourself, am I 100% okay with losing this amount? If the answer is no, you're not trading, you're gambling with your emotions. But if the answer is yes, if you truly accept the risk, you've already disarmed fear. Now you're just executing. 3. Visualize the worst, then shrink its power. This sounds backwards, but it works. Instead of avoiding the fear, you walk straight into it. Close your eyes before a trade. Imagine the trade going wrong. Picture the loss. Feel the discomfort. Then tell yourself, even if this happens, I will still be okay. I will learn, I will grow, I will continue. This simple act shrinks the fear, because the unknown is always scarier than the known. Once you face it, you take back control. 4. Journal your fear. Track its patterns. Start writing down when fear shows up. Not just that you felt it, but why. Were you afraid of losing money? Of proving your analysis wrong? Of feeling stupid in front of others? Name the fear, because when you name it, you weaken it. And over time, you'll start seeing patterns like fear spikes after a big loss or when you trade larger size. Then you can address the root. You don't solve emotional issues with logic. You solve them with awareness. 5. Create a calm ritual before trading. This is your emotional warm-up. Before you trade, take 2 minutes. Breathe slowly, close your eyes, center yourself. Say out loud, I trust my system, I've accepted the risk, I do not need to predict, I only need to execute. This isn't fluff. This is brain programming. Over time, you'll train your nervous system to relax when fear rises. And when the body is calm, the mind can perform. You don't need to eliminate fear. You never will. But you can train yourself to recognize it, pause, and trade anyway. Because fear doesn't get to drive anymore. You do. And once you disarm fear, the next threat steps up. A louder one. A more seductive one. The one that whispers, just a little more. Chapter 3. Greed, the impulse that blinds your judgment. You catch yourself staring at the screen, heart pounding, eyes wide. The trade is up big, way more than you expected, way more than you planned. You should close. You know you should. But greed whispers, what if it runs another 50 points? This could be your biggest win yet. Don't be stupid. Hold, just a little more. So you hold and hold. and watch your green candle fade. It pulls back, then collapses, and just like that, your huge, unrealized profit is gone, back to break even, or worse. Now you're angry and chasing, and the spiral begins. This is the trap of greed. But here's the hard truth. Greed isn't just about wanting more. It's about not knowing when enough is enough. It's rooted in the fantasy of perfect trades and maximum profits, and that fantasy will destroy your consistency. You're not greedy because you're a bad person. You're greedy because your brain is wired for dopamine. Every big win lights up your reward system. Every candle that goes your way tells your brain, more is coming, keep pushing, don't stop now. And so you become addicted, not to money, but to the feeling of more. It's not the gain, it's the chase. But in trading, the chase is a killer. It breaks your rules, it breaks your plan, it makes you ignore exits, risk size, and structure. Greed makes you act like a gambler, even when you think you're being strategic. So how do you regain control? Let's break it down. 1. Define the exit before you enter. Sounds simple, but most traders skip this. They have a vague idea of where it might go, but no defined target. Greed thrives in vagueness. Structure kills it. So before you enter, ask yourself, where will I take profit? What conditions must be true for me to exit? Then, commit. If it hits your level, exit, full or partial. Honor the plan, even if it keeps going. Because when you start exiting based on hope instead of rules, you've already lost, even if the number is green. 2. Use a scaling strategy to satisfy the emotion. You can't logic greed away, so give it what it wants, in a controlled way. Scale out. Take partial profit at your first target, then let the rest ride with a trailing stop. This gives you the emotional reward of locking in gains while still allowing the trade to breathe. Greed says, take it all. Discipline says, take some, protect yourself, be smart. 3. Celebrate process over profit. You feel amazing when you make money. That's normal. But if you only celebrate profit, your mind starts chasing outcomes, not execution. That's where greed gets fed. So instead, start celebrating trades where you stuck to your stop, trades where you followed your exit strategy, trades where you honored your size even if you felt like going bigger. Write it in your journal. Today, I followed my process, and that's a win, no matter the outcome. You're not here to win one trade. You're here to win for years. That's process thinking, and that mindset starves greed. 4. Visualize the pain of giving it all back. Greed lives in fantasy, so bring it back to reality. Picture that feeling, the moment when a big green P&L slips away. Feel the gut punch, the regret, the anger at yourself. Now let that memory anchor you. Before you ignore your exit again, pause and ask, is chasing a few more points worth feeling that again? Often, that question alone can break the trance. 5. Remind yourself the market owes you nothing. Greed tells you the market is a slot machine spinning just for you. But the market is not your friend. It's not your enemy either. It simply is. It will go where it goes. It doesn't care about your hopes, your goals, your bills, your dreams. Once you accept that, you trade differently. You stop forcing. You start flowing. You are not here to hit home runs. You are here to follow a process that creates consistent gains over time. Every time you take profit as planned, you send a message to your brain, we are traders, we follow rules, we do not chase. That's how trust gets built. That's how consistency forms. So next time greed whispers, hold a little longer, you'll smile and say, no thanks, I've already won. Because your edge isn't just in your entry. Chapter 4. Revenge. The emotional hijack after a loss. You take a loss. It stings, worse than you expected. You stare at the screen. Your chest is tight. Your heart's pounding. You're not thinking anymore. You're reacting. I'll make it back. That wasn't supposed to happen. I'll just take one more trade and get even. And just like that, you're no longer trading. You're fighting, swinging blindly, trying to punish the market for hurting you. This is revenge trading, and it's one of the most dangerous emotional traps in the game. Because unlike fear or greed, revenge doesn't whisper. It shouts. It overrides logic. It blinds you to risk. It makes you forget the plan, the process, the edge, all of it gone in one emotional flood. And when revenge takes the wheel, your account becomes collateral damage. You size up, you skip analysis, you chase setups that aren't really there. You stop thinking clearly because your brain has switched modes. You're not analyzing the market, you're trying to win a fight. But the market, it doesn't even know you exist. So what exactly is revenge trading? It's the emotional hijack that occurs when you take a loss personally. You don't just lose money, you lose pride. You feel like the market disrespected you. You feel the need to prove something, to the chart, to yourself. You want justice, but what you end up with is chaos. Let's fix this. 1. Understand the root. Ego protection. Revenge trading isn't about the loss. It's about what the loss means to you. You feel exposed. You feel wrong. You feel like your skill has been questioned. So you fight back. But trading isn't a battleground. There are no enemies, just probabilities and outcomes. Once you stop making losses personal, you take away revenge's fuel. Start telling yourself, this isn't about me. This is about probabilities. My job is not to be right, it's to execute cleanly. 2. Implement a loss cooldown rule. The moment you take a loss, your emotional system is compromised. You're not thinking clearly, even if you feel like you are. So you need structure, a rule, a line in the sand. Here's a powerful one. After every loss, take a mandatory 10-minute break, no exceptions. Stand up, walk away, breathe. Let the emotional spike come down before you even consider another trade. Because right after a loss, the urge to get it back is not strategy, it's desperation. 3. Name it when you feel it. The most powerful tool you have is awareness. So the next time you feel the urge to jump into a new trade right after a loss, pause. Say it out loud or write it in your journal. This is revenge talking. The moment you name it, you create distance from it. You become the observer, not the reactor. And that 1 second of awareness might be the moment that saves your session. 4. Use visual anchors. Keep a sticky note near your screen with this. I don't trade to feel better. I trade to follow my plan. Because that's what revenge is. It's emotional relief disguised as action. You're trying to soothe the pain of being wrong. But trading isn't therapy. It's performance. And you can't perform when your emotions are steering the ship. Let that note anchor you in moments of tilt. 5. Set a daily loss limit and honor it like a professional. This is non-negotiable. Every serious trader has a max daily loss, a number where, if reached, they walk away, no matter what. Why? Because they understand. When emotions run high, edge disappears. If your max loss is $200 and you hit it, you're done for the day. No debates, no negotiations. Shut it down. Protect the capital, protect the mindset. Because tomorrow is another opportunity, but only if you live to see it. Revenge trading feels powerful in the moment, but it always leads to weakness. It turns controlled losses into chaotic spirals. It erases progress. It damages your confidence. But here's what makes you dangerous in the best way. The moment you can feel that fire rise and still pause. The moment you can walk away instead of fight. That's when you become unshakable. Because real power isn't in forcing wins. It's in protecting your edge, even when it hurts. Chapter 5. Impatience, the urge that leads to mediocre setup. You sit down. Charts are open. Your coffee's still warm. You're ready. But the market isn't. No clear setup, no obvious structure. Just chop, just noise. Minutes pass, then an hour. You start shifting in your chair. You feel it rise inside you, that itch, that voice. I can't just sit here doing nothing. Or maybe this candle is the start of something. Screw it, I'll just take this small one and manage it. And there it is. You've done it again. You entered a trade not because it matched your plan, but because you couldn't wait anymore. This is impatience, the fourth emotional state that slowly destroys winning traders. But it doesn't always show up in dramatic ways. Sometimes it comes disguised as boredom, as curiosity, as that subtle need to just be doing something. But make no mistake, impatience is a performance killer. It forces you into low-quality setups. It pulls you into random trades with poor risk to reward, and worst of all, it makes you justify them. You know this setup is weak. You know the volume is low. You know your system says, wait. But you convince yourself otherwise because your brain hates stillness. Why? Because your mind is addicted to action, to novelty, to stimulation. Trading, especially on slower days, can feel like watching paint dry. And in that silence, your inner voice gets louder. That's when the damage starts. So let's train for this, because discipline is the cure for impatience. 1. Define no trade as a victory. Most traders only log wins and losses. But here's a secret. No trade is a trade. Choosing not to enter a bad setup is an act of strength. It's you protecting capital. It's you exercising control. So start giving yourself credit for those moments. Literally write it down in your journal. I waited. I honored my edge. I stayed flat, and that was a win. You don't need action to be productive. Sometimes the best play is to sit and observe. 2. Use a checklist before every entry. Impatience clouds judgment. It makes weak trades look tempting. So use structure to protect yourself. Before every trade, ask, does this match my A+ setup? Is the volume confirming the move? Is the risk to reward minimum 2 to 1? Is this a setup I'd take on a funded account? If you answer no to any of these, you don't enter. Simple. Make your checklist your gatekeeper. 3. Set no trade time blocks. On slow market days, tell yourself, for the next 30 minutes, I'm not allowed to take any trades. I'm only allowed to observe. This reframes your session. Now, sitting still isn't a failure. It's part of the plan. It turns boredom into discipline. And when the setup finally comes, you'll be sharp, focused, ready. 4. Create a productive distraction system. Here's a trick. Have a focus-friendly task you can switch to during dead time. Journaling your last trade. Reviewing screenshots of winning setups. Reading your rules aloud. Watching price action replay from prior days. This gives your mind something to do without resorting to impulsive trades. You're keeping your head in the game, but your hands off the trigger. 5. Anchor to the bigger picture. Impatience thrives when you're only thinking in today's terms. I didn't take a trade yet today. I've been watching for 2 hours and made nothing. Zoom out. Ask yourself, what do I want my results to look like 30 days from now? Will this trade help build that or sabotage it? Long-term thinking dissolves short-term urges. Trading isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, better. It's about waiting for your moment, then acting with precision. Because most of your edge doesn't come from entries. It comes from selectivity. Think of your edge like a sniper rifle. You don't pull the trigger unless the shot is clean. That's how pros operate, and that's what you're becoming. So next time that itch creeps in, when your hands start twitching, and your brain says, just take something, you'll pause, you'll breathe, and you'll remember, the trade I don't take might be the one that saves my week. Chapter 6. Self-doubt, the internal voice that sabotages your confidence. You see the setup, clean, confirmed, one you've marked in your playbook a dozen times. But something inside whispers, what if it fails? Maybe this isn't the right market condition. You've been wrong before. Don't screw it up again. So you hesitate. You wait for more confirmation. And when it finally does break out without you, you just sit there, watching, paralyzed. That's self-doubt, the quietest yet most poisonous emotional state of them all. It doesn't yell, it creeps. It disguises itself as caution, as logic, as prudence, but it's really just fear in a lab coat, fear dressed up as intelligence. And the danger is it feels so reasonable. It convinces you that your hesitation is wisdom, that your overthinking is analysis, that your reluctance is discipline. But it's not. It's insecurity. It's the belief that you are the weak link, that your judgment can't be trusted. It's the nagging suspicion that maybe you're not good enough to do this. And if you don't face it head-on, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because here's what self-doubt does. It stops you from taking valid trades. It makes you second-guess your system. It pushes you to abandon your edge for someone else's. And over time, it erodes your belief in yourself entirely. So let's take this apart, piece by piece. 1. Separate self-doubt from evidence. There's a big difference between data-based adjustment and emotion-based hesitation. If your strategy shows a drop in edge during low volatility, that's data. But if you say, I'm just not feeling it today, and skip a clean setup, that's doubt. Start asking yourself, is this hesitation based on logic or emotion? Do I have proof that this trade isn't valid, or am I just scared to be wrong? The mind loves to disguise emotion as logic. Your job is to expose the disguise. 2. Revisit your trading track record. Self-doubt feeds off selective memory. It remembers your worst trades, your dumbest mistakes, your biggest regrets. But it forgets your wins, your improvements, your growth. So keep a confidence file. Screenshots of great trades, journal entries where you nailed discipline, positive feedback from other traders, even days where you didn't trade because you stuck to your rules. This file becomes your anchor when the voice of doubt starts talking. Look at it and remind yourself, I have proof. I've done this. I can do this again. 3. Establish a repeatable routine. Confidence isn't magic. It comes from repetition, from doing the same thing the same way over and over. So build a pre-trade ritual that grounds you. Scan your checklist. Speak your trading rules out loud. Review your most recent successful trade. Take 3 deep breaths before every entry. These rituals reinforce trust in yourself. They build certainty around your process, even if you're uncertain about the market. Because when the process becomes automatic, doubt has less room to creep in. 4. Stop seeking external permission. One of the worst habits in trading? Needing someone else to validate your trade idea. You hop into Discord, Twitter, Reddit, looking for someone to say, "Yes, you're right, take the trade." But the moment you need permission, you've already surrendered your power. Remind yourself, my job isn't to be perfect. My job is to follow my process. If you're always looking outward, you'll never build inward strength. So start trusting your own analysis, even if it's wrong sometimes. Because confidence isn't about being right, it's about being grounded when you're wrong. 5. Talk back to the doubt, out loud. Don't just hear the voice of doubt, confront it. Next time it says, "What if this trade fails?" you say, "Then I'll take the loss, learn, and move forward, just like last time." Next time it says, "Maybe you're not good enough," you say, "I'm growing every day. I don't need to be perfect, I need to be consistent." When you speak with authority, you retrain the internal dialogue. You become the coach, not the critic. And that shift changes everything. Here's the truth. You don't have to be 100% confident to act. You just need to act despite the doubt. Because the strongest traders aren't fearless. They're just the ones who've learned to trade through the noise. So the next time you feel that tightness, that hesitation, that mental chatter whispering, "Don't trust yourself," you'll take a breath, focus on your system, and take the trade anyway. Not recklessly, not impulsively, but decisively. Because you have trained for this, and even when the voice shakes, your hands won't. Conclusion. Take a moment and breathe. You've just walked through the 5 emotional states that silently ruin winning trades: fear, greed, impatience, revenge, and self-doubt. You've seen how easily they sneak in. You've felt their fingerprints on your worst decisions. And maybe you finally understand why some of your best trades never had a chance. This is the real stuff most traders avoid. Not because they don't care, but because it's hard. Because admitting that emotion, not strategy, is the real threat feels personal. But you showed up. You stayed with it. And now you're no longer blind to what's been holding you back. You've done something powerful just by listening. You've taken your first real step toward emotional mastery, toward becoming the kind of trader who doesn't get rattled by a spike, a drawdown, or a string of losses. Because now you see it, now you know it, and knowledge like this, it changes you. The game has changed, so must you. From this point forward, you'll notice the shift. When that familiar fear starts to rise, you'll pause, you'll breathe, you'll remind yourself, this is just a feeling, not a fact. When greed whispers, "Just one more trade," you'll recognize the trap, and you'll walk away, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to stop. Impatience, revenge, and self-doubt, they won't disappear overnight. But now you'll meet them with awareness, and that's where real discipline begins. You'll stop blaming the market. You'll stop hopping from strategy to strategy. You'll stop self-sabotaging your progress. You'll become the trader who doesn't need the market to behave, because you've learned to master yourself first. Keep this momentum alive. You didn't come this far to stop here. So here's what I want you to do next. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, We break down real trading psychology without fluff, no fake gurus, just raw, honest insight you can actually use. Leave a comment below and tell me which of the 5 emotional states hits you the hardest. Which one has cost you the most? And what will you do differently starting now? Let's build a real community of traders who support each other, not just with charts, but with mindset. Because the truth is, your emotions don't have to kill your trades. They can fuel them. They can become signals, not saboteurs. But only if you're willing to face them head on, which you just did. So next time you sit in front of the screen, don't just trade the market. Trade with self-awareness. Trade with intention. Trade like the calm, focused version of you that's been waiting to break through. You've got this. Now let's grow together, one emotionally intelligent trade at a time. Subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay steady, stay sharp, and trade with clarity.